Hi there, this is Jose from StampingJo.com and welcome to the January Stamping 411 where I focus on a few different products and I use them 4 different times a month every Friday in different ways. So this month I am focusing on the Butterfly Gala stamp set, which is brand new photopolymer stamp set from our Occasions catalog. And you can see it has lots of different butterfly options. And then it has some really nice greetings on it as well. And the bundle comes as a set of 2. So you have the coordinating punch, which actually punches out the big and the little butterfly at the same time. And it is so cool. I have made so many cards already with this stamp set, so I am excited to share those with you this month. So this is the card that I'm doing today, and it is using the Highland Heather cardstock. And some basic stamping, really beautiful. I don't know if you can see the shimmer on here, but I'll show you how I did that. And then I heat embossed the thank you so much as well, and we will go through that as well. We're starting with 4 pieces of cardstock. So our Highland Heather is 5.5 by 8.5. We have our basic black, which is 4 by 5.25. Whisper White, which is 3 3/4 this way by 5. And then we have the vellum cardstock, which is 1 inch by 3 inches. So we're going to start out with just folding our cardstock using the bone folder. So just meet your edges here and get that nice fold. And then I'm going to pull in my Whisper White. Now I found with photopolymers that it's actually really good to have this mat. So this is our paper piercing mat, but I also use it for stamping, and it gives a really a better image of the photopolymer stamps I find than stamping on my table. It just has a little bit of give. Now I like to put a piece of copy paper underneath it because I don't want to be stamping on the actual mat. So we're using this stamp here. Now you'll see that the stamps, they come together on one piece of photopolymer, which makes it so that it's always the same size, the same spacing for the punch. So for this one, I'm going to use the Memento ink. It is by far the best black, and it stamps really, really nice images. So I'm going to ink that up really well. If you find that you're not getting a black on your stamping when you're doing it, it means that your Memento ink pad needs to be re-inked. So see how nice and crisp that is? So if it's not looking like that for you, then make sure you get that re-inker and you re-ink your ink pad. So I'm going to do that whole page, just kind of putting them wherever they land, like they're really flying in the wind. So the great thing about this stamp is these butterflies build off of each other. So you can see here that this is the part of the butterfly that goes in the middle, so its body, and it has the larger one and the smaller one for whichever size of butterfly you need it for. And then they have the little antlers. Are those not so cute? Now they come in 3 parts, so you can use them with or without. But for this particular card, I decided to use it with. And we're still going to be using that Memento ink. And this is the little body. Now there is, if you actually stamp it on your scrap paper, there is one side, okay, that is a little bit thicker than the other. And that, I don't know if I'm right or not because I'm not a butterfly expert, but that's the part that I decided was the head of the butterfly. And so I actually stamped that at the top. And then once that's there, I'm going to take the little antlers and just stamp them on like that. So I'm going to do that to all the big butterflies. And then I'm going to use the 2 small ones for the little butterflies. For the stamp that I've already used, because I'm going to be using it in Highland Heather in a couple of seconds, I can't speak, I want to take most of that ink off on my scrap, and then I'm going to use my Simply Chamois to get that off. Now don't worry if your photopolymer stamps tend to stain. They still are in perfect condition for stamping, and they're going to be able to stamp in your next color. So if you see, there is no remainder color on there, which is so great. And that's what I love about that Simply Chamois. So next I'm going to take my Highland Heather ink pad and I'm going to stamp those butterflies one more time on some scrap Whisper White, making sure that that's nicely inked. And then we're going to take it and give it nice even pressure. Now here's the fun part. So we have this inner pieces of the butterflies. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this one. I'm going to stamp it in my Highland Heather. Oopsies. And then stamp off and then stamp in the middle of the butterfly just to easily color it. With the bigger butterfly, there is the top piece and then there's the bottom piece. So we could have those in different colors or we can choose them to be the same. For this particular card, I just decided to do them the same, but I have seen so many beautiful cards with this stamp set where people have chosen different cards or different colors, sorry, to color in those butterflies, and they've been so, so pretty. But look how simple this is. Basically just line it up and you've got that butterfly totally colored out. Now we're going to take our punch. Always use a punch upside down because then you can line it up and line up both butterflies and then just punch it out and they just pop right out. So for this, I still have the body and actually, I don't need the little antlers on this one, but the body of my little butterfly, and I'm going to actually stamp him in Highland Heather in the middle. So see how it creates that white space in the middle? That's just the perfect spot to put the body. Now I'm going to tell you a tip. Because these are so little, when you are using stamps like this, just make sure you put them right back into your case so that you don't lose them. So I actually, because I was a little lazy, I just kind of stuck them on the inside there just so that I knew they were contained. Because I don't know about you, but when I stamp, my stamp table becomes a huge mess. And it is so easy to accidentally, you know, throw it out or miss it or place it under something and then I never find it again. I actually have my husband tidies my stamp room for me because it drives him bananas every once in a while. And you know, when I stamp, I get like stuff all around me and I have papers and stamps and punches everywhere to the point where I generally have like this amount of space to stamp with and it drives him bananas. So every few days, if I'm doing that, he'll come in and he'll put like all the stamps in one section and all the cardstock in another. And so if I leave these tiny little pieces out, he is going to organize them. So, you know how we are, right? Like we don't like things organized like that because we know where it is, even though it's a big mess. At least if you're like me. So next I'm just going to use my vellum cardstock and I'm going to stamp my thank you very much stamp. This is a really nice big bold stamp on the card and it is super nice to make a really nice bold greeting on whatever design you have. I'm going to use my Versamark ink pad. If you have Versamark, yours might look perfectly white. Mine gets loved over time, so that's why it's not white. But before I do this, I want to heat emboss on here. So vellum cardstock tends to be a little bit staticky, and you can end up getting embossing powder everywhere. So I'm going to take my embossing buddy, which has a little bit of powder on inside that allows it to take away that static. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on there. It doesn't mean it'll be perfect and that I won't have any specks anywhere, but it is so much better when I use my embossing buddy. Okay, so I'm going to do that and rub that off a little bit because it's a little messy now. And I'm going to stamp that towards the right a bit, like that. And most of my embossing powders I have in giant containers. This particular one, the basic black, I don't. So I'm just going to fold up a piece of paper, just copy paper from my computer. And I have it in these little containers. I find my other ones I tended to use more, like the clear, for example, or silver or gold. And so I have those in kind of like dollar store Tupperware containers. So we're just gonna dump that completely out. And we're gonna tap. All right, so before I get on to the next step, I'm gonna clean up my spot a little bit. So I'm just gonna take that paper and dump all of that embossing powder back in. And amazingly, with embossing powder, a little bit goes a long way. So these containers last for a long time. Put that aside so I don't get the powder everywhere. And then I'm just gonna move that. Now, the other thing I do is I brush off my paper, because you'll see that no matter what, there'll be a little bit of powder everywhere. So now that I've tapped off the powder, I'm gonna take my heat tool and melt the powder, and you'll see that it will turn shiny. Okay, so I'm ready to start assembling. So to start, we're gonna take that stamped cardstock and put it onto our basic black. And I just used regular snail for that. Line it up. And then here is something cool. So if you've never been through our celebration sale before, during celebration, for every $60 that you spend, or $120, you will be able to select free items. So for a $60 order, you get one free product. And for a $120 order, you get either 2 free level 1 products or 1 free level 2 products. So pretty cool. I know that I've sent out the celebration brochures in the mail. Some of you might not have received them already. I think Canada Post was having some issues. So you'll see that the PDF is in this post, and you can actually look at it through the PDF or through my online store at stampingjoe.com/store. And in there, you will see what free items you can get for free. So look for these little starbursts, and it'll say free with $60. So that's for this stamp set. And for this particular card, I'm using the Organdy Ribbon Combo Pack. These ribbons are so pretty, and you get quite a lot of them. And they come in Daffodil Delight, Balmy Blue, Grapefruit Grove, Highland Heather, and Lemon Lime Twist. So I'm going to use the Highland Heather, and I'm going to take enough so that it goes to the back of my cardstock, and enough so I can tie another little piece on top. So we're going to take that, put a little bit of adhesive on the back, and we can go like this. Normally I would put some extra tape on the back just to hold that. Okay, so if you're doing this at home, definitely I would recommend doing that. Either our Terran tape or even some Scotch tape. You'll be able to hold that a little bit better, that ribbon. But I forgot to put it down on my table, so pretend like I did that. So we're going to attach that to our back card. And then we're going to take that other snippet of ribbon, and we're going to put it under and just tie a knot. So it's just kind of like a faux bow in a sense. And that's a little long, so I'm just going to snip that like that. And then maybe snip a little bit off of the other side here. Okay, so Wink of Stella. Let me tell you about this. It is probably my favorite product to add just that extra something to a card. It's fairly inexpensive, and a little goes a long way, and it is just awesome. So I can leave the butterflies just looking like that, or you can take some of this Wink of Stella, and it's kind of a clear glitter, and you can just add it to your butterfly, and it adds really beautiful shimmer. So I'm going to do that to both of my butterflies before I put them together. If you find you're not getting enough on the brush, then you're just going to squeeze these sides here, but don't squeeze too much into the barrel because it'll come out and glob everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to put these together. I'm actually going to take some little mini dimensionals. So you can see these ones are just tiny in comparison to our regular dimensionals. If I didn't have the minis, I would just cut these down a little bit. but I have them and they're cute, so I'm going to use them on the back of my little ones. So 2 of them there, and then I'm going to place that onto the back butterfly. And you could bring his wings up if you want, so he's kind of like flying. Isn't that pretty? Love. And then I'm going to take my bigger ones and put it on the back. So a trick to getting your vellum on, because that's kind of our next step now, is we're going to have that butterfly overlap our vellum. Okay, so it's going to go like this. So we can put some adhesive. You can either do like some snail even if you want to do that corner with snail, or you can take some fine tip glue and add a little bit of that as well. The glue will dry clear, which is nice, but you will also want some on the other side, and we don't want to show. So what I actually did, oh, see I'm getting a little bubble here. So it's good to have extra cardstock on the side, because if it does glob, you don't want it to glob onto your paper. But the spots where there's a lot of black behind, you can add some of that glue. And I find it's enough. It gives it enough kind of security that it's going to stay on there. So we're going to put that to the edge and let that go like this. Now, when I made my original card, I let that sit for probably a half an hour. Do you hear the phone in the background? Isn't that okay? So now that my phone is done ringing, we can continue. So for that fine tip glue, I actually my favorite way to just let it sit is just to add a block on top of it, or something that's smooth and, you know, heavy. Even a book would work. And just let it sit, let that dry so that it stays on there. But because we're doing this on a video, I'm going to continue. So we're going to take the rest of my dimensional backings off, and then we're going to put that right about there. And isn't that pretty how it's two-toned? I love it. So lastly, what we can do is add just a little bit more bling, and we're going to take some of our basic rhinestone jewels, and I took the littlest ones there, and because odd numbers always seem to look better, I took 3 of them and put it onto my butterfly's body like that. And the last one. So isn't that gorgeous? Now I have created probably another, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 more cards using this stamp set. And I'm going to share them every Friday. Like I said, we'll have a video, and then I have others that I'm going to share throughout the month. But I guarantee you, you will not regret getting this Butterfly Gala and the punch that matches. So for this month's promo with Celebration, don't forget that for every $60 that you spend, you get free products. So what I did for this month is I did kind of a feature with the Butterfly Gala and the punch that come together as a bundle with the Wink of Stella and then some rhinestones, which puts you just over $60. And then you can pick anything you want out of this Celebration brochure. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I will see you next Friday with a new Stamping 411 video. Have a great day. Bye.